Thank you, Susan. Yes, you did. Thank you. Well, everyone, thank you so much for having me back. What an honor. It is wonderful to see your beautiful smiling faces. So I want to just stop and give thanks. So thank you for having me here. I want to also acknowledge thank you to Reverend Nancy for inviting me back, and also to Barbara Evershed, who put us up this weekend. Us, meaning my husband. He's
Mr.
here.
Evelyn.
No, Mr. Clifford. He's his own person. So thank you, honey, for coming with me this weekend. And also for Susan and all the rest of our community here who selflessly serve in sacred service. You know, like every week we come together to do this, and really it's an experience for us all, right? The opening song was Surely the Presence. And when two or more are gathered in his name, we are here present in the Christ Spirit itself. So yes, I wanted to just get that out and just to say thank you, because my heart is overflowing. Today's message is on letting go, because we're in the midst of the Lenten season. So let me grab my notes and see what God has in store. And I always say, you know, I always prepare for my talk. It's always more than enough material. And then when I'm up here, I'm fully surrendered. You know, God's in charge, and whatever needs to be said will be said. So my prayer is always that may our hearts be open, and may each of us walk away with what we need to know in this message, because none of it is mine, right? All right, so Lenten season. How many people here in their religion of upbringing when they were children did not have a Lent experience? Right, there's a few of us, yes. Okay, so I thought, you know, it might, because we just assume, oh, everyone knows what Lent is, and of course everybody knows and recognizes Easter, but not all Christian denominations practice Lent. So I'm just going to go through it really quickly just to bring us all on the same page. So for Lent 2025, Lent is, first of all, a 40-day period, right? It's to prepare us for Easter. And this year it's going from March 5th through April 17th. So we have a couple more weeks. March 5th is Ash Wednesday, which is the beginning of Lent. And then April 17th is actually Holy Thursday, and then we have Easter. So here we go. So Lent in Old English means springtime. It's a period of time, 40 days, for self-examination. If any of us are in the 12-step program, it's part of that period of taking inventory. This is really like a spiritual time for us to take inventory of who we're being with our thoughts, our actions, and our deeds. So one of the questions that I always hold when I go through this season is, how is my relationship with God? You know, maybe that's a good inquiry for all of us. Like, how is your relationship with the God of your knowing? Are you close? Are you acquaintances? Are you best friends? Is it a parental relationship? It's just something to look at, right? Point of consciousness. And the second question you want to ask is, do I want to be closer to God? Do I want to be closer to God? Because some of us have this relationship where, like, we only talk to God when we need something, right? Or some of us are acquaintances because we're still like, oh, this fearful thing. Others of us have a very close personal relationship with God. And the Fillmores, Charles and Myrtle, who were the founders of Unity, always encourages and teaches us to go into the silence, because in the silence, as the song says, that's where we meet our consciousness, the consciousness of God. So that's the Lenten season in a nutshell. There's a whole lot more, but I'm not going to go into it. I want to share a story with you because my husband is here, and I'm sitting here praying as we're doing, as we're going through the service. I'm going, well, God, tell me which story I should share. So I'm going to share with you the story of how I met this man about 20 years ago.
This should be a good one.
It is a good one. It is a good one. So, and you guys know I always love telling stories, right? So about 20 years ago, I had gotten out of a relationship that just wasn't working. I was at a place in my life where things were just not working. Sometimes, many times, that happens for us. For us. Notice I said it's for us. So someone said to me, you should try going to that Unity church over there on the north side of the island. I was living on Maui at the time. And I said, oh, okay. Well, tell me more about, this church community. He said, well, people are very loving and they're welcome. You seem like you might be a good fit. So I went to church, and all I wanted to do is just be in the silence. I wanted a closer relationship with God. That's all I wanted to do. Because I had gotten out of a relationship just recently, I just said, I need to take a break and not do anything. And as I was going to this church environment, I was still processing the breakup. And I just, had one of those moments we all do when we have this, what do they call it? Come to Jesus conversations, right? So I had a conversation with God and I said, okay, God, my picker is broken. I am not making good choices and things just don't seem to work out. So I'm going to surrender what I think, who I think should be in my life. And if I am supposed to be alone for the rest of my life, so be it. I mean, I really just let that go. Just let it go. And then I said, well, I gotta say though, I have a lot of love inside me and it just doesn't seem that way. But if that's what thy will, your will is, I'm willing to accept it and be forever alone, right? Just let it go. So then I went to this church. And I think it was just a few days after I had that prayer. One of those prayers where you just kind of let it all go and I was crying. I just kind of released it because I wasn't tethered to it anymore. It didn't become my identity that I had to have someone in my life. I just let it go. I went to church, and that's when I met Cliff. So he was sitting in front of me, and it's some certain communities where, they encourage you to say hello and greet each other and good morning and all of that stuff. Well, he turned around, and the first thing I noticed was his piercing green eyes. And I was going, okay, I'm confused, God. I'm not supposed to like anybody right now. I'm supposed to be alone for the rest of my life. So Cliff is very insistent. And eventually he asked me out on a date and then, and so forth. And if you want to talk to him about his version, it's actually totally fun. But I'm going to tell you my version. And my version was all about letting go. Surrendering to whatever is without expectation and trusting, faithing, I call it, to know that everything is exactly the way it needs to be. And that I'm going to sit in the passenger seat of life instead of in the driver's seat. And in the driver's seat, I allowed Spirit to be there, to guide me, to help me remember to come back just to the silence, right? I can't go back to my old consciousness. I'm coming to the new consciousness, which is God is in charge. I am not. I'm not the general manager of the universe. I am here to be the expression of God in the world. So every date we had, and I got into my old consciousness of, what does this mean? What does that mean? Oh, he's being so, and then just, be now, be here now. Those famous words from, who was it, Eckhart Tolle?
Yes, Eckhart Tolle.
Yeah. Just to be present in the presence of Spirit. It was really a huge blessing because I don't know that we would be together still 20 years later had I listened to my already always listening mind. We all have that, right? Already always listening. That's our background talking. It's that iceberg, right? If you can imagine the iceberg, and all of that's the subconscious, right? So we release and we let go, which is like the perfect song. And you sang it so beautifully and so fun. I love it. Okay, so, and I want to say that's all for today, but there really is a lesson.
There's more.
There is more. Okay, so Jesus fasted in the desert for 40 days. And I thought, well, we're talking about Lenten season. Let's talk about the metaphysical aspects of this. So, before I even go into the teaching, the lesson for today, I want to review the 5 principles of unity. Anyone remember what they are? Okay, I'm going to go do that really quickly. So the first principle is what we talked about earlier. God is. I always use the children's version because the children's version helps me remember very easily without going into discord, right? God is. So we said it earlier today, there's only one presence and one power active in the universe and in my life. God the good, omnipotent. That's our basic belief system here in our community. So let's affirm that together again. Why not? There's only one power and one presence active in the universe and in my life. God the good, omnipotent. And if you say presence and power or power and presence, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. It's not the mechanics of how you know that. It's the energy that you bring. So if you're grounded in the energy of knowing that there is only one power, there's only one presence, it doesn't matter how you say it because it's just the truth. And if we are truth students and we know that's the truth, everything that is perceived as against us, it's just a challenge for you to wake up to that truth. Kind of goes in a circular pattern, right? Someone irks you, there's only one power, one presence, active in my life, in your life, and in the universe. God the good. Whatever it seems to be in that moment. Whether it's your health, your wealth, or your relationships. I mean, there's a lot of things if we just go through, like, this is part of it, right? And I want to share with you that each and every single one of us have our own custom curriculum of waking up, of coming back to that truth. Whatever you're facing right now, whatever difficulty or challenge, it could be health, it could be a relationship with your loved one, it could be your money situation. Those are all your lessons. Each one of us has our own bucket. And, thank God for that. Those are things that wake us up, that help us remember that there's only one power, one presence, God. And if we lean back into it, if I didn't lean into the one power and one presence, I remember saying that a lot when I was out on dates with Cliff. He challenged me in ways that I was like, oh my goodness. And I have stories to share, but not right now. You can ask me after the service. So that's unity principle number 1. There's only one power, one presence, active in my life and in the universe, or in the universe and in my life. It doesn't really matter how you say it. And that's God the good, omnipotent. So can we agree that that's our basic fundamental tenet? Yes? Okay. So number 2, unity principle number 2 is God is, I am. What is that? I am here, spiritual being living a human experience. If God is everywhere present, God is within me as well. I am God seed. You are God seed. That's the beautiful part of it. God is, I am. I think. I love this one. That's number 3. I think. I think, therefore I am, right? Charles Fillmore taught us that thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. I love it. Yes, absolutely. So how you're thinking about things, how you process things is a reflection of your consciousness. Really, really big one. If you get to a point where you go, oh my God, I'm thinking wrongly. There's no right or wrong in life, but there's right thinking and there's thinking that will lead you down a different path altogether. So number 3 is I think. Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. Number 4 is prayer and meditation. I pray. So this now number 4 goes into how we come to do our practice. And here in this community, we teach meditation, we teach prayer, right? And that is basically going into the silence, is to just close the windows, close the doors of your own being, your consciousness and your heart, and just pray and be there and listen to what is yours to hear. If you were standing in Grand Central, or what is that, Times Square in New York City, there's a lot of stuff going on. And it's hard to hear what you're supposed to hear, right? That's social media, maybe the circle, the people you run with, maybe for some of us, our families. I don't know, each one of us has our own journey. And so the invitation for you is to say, okay, Times Square, Grand Central, I'm going to go into this space right here where I get to meet God. That's the space of silence. And we do this at every service. It's part of our tradition. Right? Number 5 is I act. So we know all of this. We know that we are one with the one. We know that God lives through us. We know that how we consider things, how we think about things, produces however our life looks. We know that we pray and we meditate. And then what do we do with it? If we don't do anything with it, it's not going to benefit the world. We're not going to be living our soul's existence of being the ones that we've come to be in this lifetime. So those 5 principles are our basic foundational, this is the entire reason why we're here, is to be in community, to know this, to practice it, and then to take it out into the world so that we could create a more, copacetic environment, right? Now, I could say now is a really pivotal time in our life. I mean, it's always exciting, right? When you're alive, it's exciting because life gets to be lived. But this is a really pivotal time in our history. So I'm not going to go into why. You guys probably know why, right? For you to be exactly as God would have you be, and to go into prayer itself. And so those are the 5 unity principles. And I can say, okay, we're done with the talk, but I haven't even gotten to the lesson. So, okay. Should I repeat that again? Okay, so let's do this together. Number 1, God is. Number 2, I am. Number 3, I think. Number 4, I pray. Beautiful. Number 5, I act. Yes, and remember, the semantics of how to get there is not that important. It's the energy that you bring, because when you know it, you know it. And you can use a whole paragraph of explaining it. That's great too. It's just more efficient when you use those, 2 words, etc. Okay, so let's go to our talk about letting go and letting God. So Jesus fasted for 40 days, praying in the desert before he began his public ministry. We know this. So what are those practices, right? He went into the desert. So I want to get into the metaphysical explanation of the desert and the word 40, because we talk a lot about like the theology of it all, but here we also want to talk about the positive, progressive path to Christianity, right? So I always look at that because it helps me go, okay, I know this intellectually. This is what the Bible says. This is what our wisdom books say. This is what my minister says. And how do I apply this to my life so that it works? So that I can have a better experience of life. I think we were, at the very beginning, someone said that it was the daily word. The reading of the daily word says, you got to let go to not have limits on your life. So part of this lesson is about letting go so that we let go of our limits. Our limits are things that irk us, that challenge us, that seemingly seems like it could be against us. But again, if you go back to that one power and one presence, whatever's in front of you is your specific curriculum to know that, oh, this is what I get to grow through. How do I deepen my understanding and deepen my relationship with God so that I can grow through this and to thrive? It's not anything that you need to resolve necessarily. You just need to shift your energy into the consciousness of God. I don't know if anyone remembers, but the last few times I was here, I always say, life meets you at your level of consciousness. Life meets you at your level of consciousness. So if something is not happening or not working or turning out the way you think it is, maybe there's another way that you have not thought of. And if we continue to grind at it, we're going to continue to be stuck because we're so engrossed in making it work. But there's a spiritual answer to that, and that's God. So, where was I? The desert. Right. Okay, so before I go into the desert, why do we want to have these practices? So the practices of Lent is, seemingly to give up something. We fast. What does that mean? We give up food, right? When we fast, we give up food. Maybe we fast from social media. We give up our connection to the outside world. Maybe we give up being angry, right? So we give up the idea that we're right and we're justified and we're entitled, etc. So these are all, this period of time is to take up spiritual practices that help you get closer to God, which means if you're not willing to shift and change, you're not gonna shift and change. So this Lenten season is really, what I love about this Lenten season is there's a group of people who share a similar belief, that is of Christ, right? And that we do this together as a Christian community, that we get to give up a few things to see what God has in store for us. And if we take on this journey of these 40 days, now we have 2 weeks left, and that's still a really valid amount of time. So every day you want to ask, what is mine to do? Instead of knowing already what you're going to do, because the answers will be different. So why do we want to do this? Well, we're followers of Christ, and so we're living our life in his footsteps. We're confronting, really, at the end of the day, our attachments and our illusions of what needs to be. Because if we already know the answer, we're not going to get anything new, right? So the idea of repenting is basically to return to God with your whole heart. That doesn't mean, okay, I'm just going to take a baby step. That means give it up, drop it like it's hot potato. Whatever you're dead set on, let it go. You want to create space from grace. You want to strip away all the distractions in your life. How many people have distractions in your life right now? So many. You walk outside and you're distracted, right? So we want to let go so that we can make room to receive more. And letting go, it's this idea like fasting. Fasting is fascinating. You're letting go of food and you're hungry. What did they say? You want to give away what you want to receive, right? Tithing, that's another thing. Oh, we're so attached to our livelihood that we're afraid to tithe. Well, the tithing principle is part of your action of prosperity, right? You tithe, you're making space. You're kind of letting it go. You're letting the energy go. Same thing with fasting. You're creating space. You're creating a vacuum for good to flow back in to your life. So this whole season, this whole Lenten journey is about preparing ourselves to receive the Easter season, which, as we all know, it's about resurrection, being born again, seeing things anew. But if we're not willing to let go of stuff, we're not making space for the newness to come into our life. So preparing for resurrection, to spiritually prepare to fully receive joy, hope, and new life that Easter promises. It's letting go of our excuses, letting go of the noise, letting go of false identities, letting go of trying to control everything. So finally, we're at the 40 days. I can find my notes. Here we go. Metaphysical interpretation. The number 40, when I hear 40, and this is probably from my teaching and background, I hear as long as it takes. It's not necessarily 40, the Bible, they said it's 40 days, right? It's not necessarily 40. It's a metaphor for as long as it takes. So if he's out in the desert for 40 days, he's out there for as long as it takes. The number 40 is a number of significant transformation. It represents a period of testing and preparation. You're being tested. I was being tested when I met my husband because I was just done, and it was very easy to go back to let me just control the situation. I didn't. I surrendered. I'm still surrendering every day. So 40 actually represents the completion of a particular phase leading to renewal. So I'm talking about Jesus. Who else was in the desert for a while? You guys know this. Moses, right? Yeah, Moses. He led the Israelites through the desert. And if you actually read the passage, it says 40. So it's really fascinating how the desert plays a pivotal part in our wisdom text. So both Moses and Jesus were fasting. They were being spiritually tested. And it really symbolizes a profound personal transformation. So if we practice this fasting, the austerity of giving up something for Lent, right? We're practicing letting go of something that provides a spiritual transformation. And it gets you prepared and ready for the next phase of your life, your spiritual journey, whatever that may be. So 40 also denotes the end of a cycle. And when something ends, there's always another beginning. And here's the beautiful part about Easter, right? It's an emblem of endurance, and also on a metaphysical level, it is a journey into a higher state of being. Because if you're able to give up something that you never thought you could give up, guess what? Oh, I could be this way and be okay. So now you're leveling up. Can I say that? Leveling up in your level of consciousness, right? All right. Okay, it's also significant of growth and metamorphosis because you can endure challenges and you're better for it. How many of us here have gone through something and we just don't think we're better for it, right? Every time you have a hardship, you go through it, it always works out. You're better for it because you're nourished, you're enriched, you have I would say a broader, maybe a bigger understanding of life, and you're one with the one. Okay. So let's talk about the desert. Does anyone have any questions? No, okay. So let's talk about the desert. The desert is really interesting. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 ideas that the desert represents. Number 1, think about the desert. It's desolate. It's probably where the word came from, right? It represents emptiness and potential. In the emptiness, there's potential. If you think about the realm of infinite possibilities, it hasn't been manifested yet. So it's both empty and it's infinite potential, right? It's sort of a paradox. So where there's emptiness lies possibility for everything. And in the absence of external distractions, that's the desert. That's what we did when we did the meditation. You can tap into the inexhaustible supply that is God. If you're in the silence, this is why we practice the silence. The desert also signifies solitude, because you're there, you're alone. Nothing grows there. Well, things do grow there, but we don't see it with our eyes. Right? So solitude is a catalyst for us. It's the isolation of the desert that offers a sanctuary for contemplation. And notice the word sanctuary. Like this would be our sanctuary, and that word is significant of the word sacred. Sacred. It's a sacred place for your realization that you are one with one with the one. It underscores solitude, underscores stepping away from societal noise, maybe politics at this point. It creates a deeper communion with spirit. In other words, you want a deeper relationship with God? Go in the silence and listen to what yours is to do. It's also the testing ground for inner strength. The desert represents an arena for trial and temptation. And where's the loudest place in all the world? In the silence. Yeah, it's really loud in there. So we get to practice coming down from the loudness to centered groundedness. It also reflects the inner battle of our inner conflict. Because you're in your head. When you're in your head, it's loud. We get to be there to face whatever is on our path to enlightenment, on our path to understanding, on our path to knowing God on a deeper level. It's also a metaphor for your unconscious mind. All the things that come up, you want to be quiet, want them to quiet down. It's like little children, because you're always already listening voice. So it represents your unconscious mind. It's vast, it's uncharted, and it's barren. And like the subconscious mind, it harbors, okay, this is a big one for us. It harbors unawakened thoughts. Unawakened thoughts, which means thoughts that veer us away from the 5 unity principles, right? Okay, so lastly, the desert is also a space for transformation and renewal. It's a journey through your personal desolation towards renewal. The desert embodies the process of stripping away all that no longer serves you to reveal that Christ's presence within your heart. Okay. So that's the desert, and that's the 40 days metaphysically. Now, does anyone remember how Moses got out of the desert? No? Okay. So he goes through walking through the desert with the Israelites for 40 days and 40 nights. And he doesn't go into the promised land. Joshua does, right? We know this. So I looked up the metaphysical definition of that, and I want to share that with you because it's kind of enlightening. Let me find it here. Okay. So Joshua represents the higher self in action. Moses represents our inner vision and our spiritual insight, which is limited by fear and old beliefs. He doesn't go to the promised land. Joshua does. Joshua is the courageous, bold faith that leads the soul into manifestation. So if we remember, Joshua gets into the promised land, Moses doesn't. Moses is very important because he led them there. Very important. That's our inner vision and our spiritual insight. Joshua represents courageous, bold faith. How bold can you be with your faith? Do we have tissue anywhere? No? I need tissue. Can someone grab me some? Oh, thank you. Awesome. Appreciate that. No, I'm going to keep it here. Okay. In Joshua 1:9, it says, "Be strong and courageous, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go." Crossing the Jordan it represents transitioning to a new state of mind. So Joshua leads the Israelites across the Jordan River, symbolizing crossing from our sense consciousness into spiritual consciousness, going from wandering and survival mode, does this sound familiar? We're wandering, we're surviving in the desert, into purpose, promise, and divine alignment. Because you want to shift into knowing that God is. That it's not somewhere you get to strive for. You got to shift your consciousness, right? Number 3, I think. Joshua commands the wall of Jericho to fall. So the fall of Jericho under Joshua's leadership symbolizes the breaking down of inner barriers. There's that space where we meet ourselves again, our inner consciousness. The walls are limiting beliefs, fears, and ego defensiveness. Doesn't sound like a great thing, but we all have it, right? Because we're human. The trumpets and praise is about the vibration of divine truth and spiritual sound. And marching faithfully is the persistence of spiritual practice. We've got to be integrated with our practice, even when the results are not immediate. So many times when I was on my date with my husband, I wanted to run the other way. I know, right? Because it was too scary. It was just, it's like, okay, I just had this prayer with God, this come to terms talk with God, and I'm dating again. That's weird. But I let it go. It just is whatever it is. And because I wasn't so intent of making whatever it is into something, our journey unfolded for us. That's the blessing. And actually, I was going to share with you another story of mine, and I'll share it another time, but it was about going to ministerial school and also being pregnant at the same time, another time in our desert. So one last thing I want to say about the desert is we have all these symbolisms about the desert, being barren and being quiet and all of that stuff. But in your life, you've got to be able to discern that even when you're in the desert, you may not know that you're in the desert. When you're grappling with something, that's you being in the desert. When you're confused about something, that's you being in the desert. So you're going to be there as long as you're there until you reach a higher state of being, higher state of consciousness, where you get the resolution, the promised land, right? So that's the desert. So what I want to do is to just have you walk through with me in the practice. I wrote down 4 practices that we can take for the next 2 weeks until Easter service. So the first one is breath work. And I want to do this together so you have an experiential, so you have the experience of doing it together. So number 1 is breath work. So go ahead and do this with me if you're willing. Go ahead and inhale grace. Hold it, and then exhale your burdens. Okay, now bring to mind whatever is on your heart that feels like it could be a challenge or a burden at this time. Now, go ahead and inhale, grace, and then exhale your burdens. Great. So thank you, Connie, for reminding me everyone should have a little slip of paper with a pen. You want to write whatever that burden is that came to you, because that's a divine download, right? Oh, this is what's irking me right now. This is my challenge. Just write it down. And remember, inhale grace and exhale your burdens for the rest of the week. You get to practice this throughout the week. Okay, number 1 is breath work. You're just breathing. You were born with breath. It's everywhere you go. You can't forget. Well, I guess you can, but you'll pass out, right? You got to breathe. So inhale grace, exhale burden. That's number 1. Number 2 is journaling. You'd be surprised at what the already always thinking mind is doing, right? So right now, right here where we sit, I want you to think of something that you are ready to let go of. Think of it and write it down on your little slip of paper. What are you ready to let go of? Number 2 is journaling. And throughout this week, when you get a moment, journal about that. Why are you ready to let go? What are you so sick and tired of being sick and tired of? Who would you be if you let it go? What are the possibilities when you give it to God? Maybe you don't know all the answers. Maybe God knows all the answers. or some answers, or just a different way of being. So first one is breath work, second one is journaling. You're gonna name what you're ready to let go of. Number 3, okay, this is a big one for this season. Close your eyes right now and think about something or someone that needs your forgiveness. And when you have that, write it down on your slip of paper. So the third practice is to practice forgiveness, because when you practice forgiveness, you're practicing self-liberation. You're letting go of resentment. You're freeing yourself from being tethered to something that is really none of your business. It's God's business to resolve it. If you don't know how to forgive, go to God. How do I forgive this God? You ask the right questions and you get the right answers. The final one, which is number 4, which correlates to our unity principles, number 4, it's prayer and affirmation. Prayer and affirmation. Like you're going to affirm. So Susan talked about it earlier. What's an affirmation? You're basically stating what is already true. You're not making stories about your mind. God is ever present. That's already true. We know this. We ground it. What about I am prosperous? Do we know this? Well, this is what affirmations do, right? We're reminding ourselves that we are prosperous because we are children of God. We're God's seed because God lives in, through, and as us. And as we go about living our life, if we remember God, if we have a close relationship, if we're integrated, then we're going to know that we're always taken care of. We're never alone, no matter how much of feeling like you're in the desert you are. Did that sentence make sense? You guys know what I'm talking about, right? So even though you feel like you're in the desert, you're not. You're always taken care of. Divine blessing, divine integration, divine alignment. Breath work, journaling, forgiveness, prayer, and affirmation. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3 things, and I would like you to repeat them with me. I release. Together. I release. So this time, close your eyes and bring to mind what you're ready to release. And I'm going to say, I release, and you're going to repeat it. Okay, bring it to mind. Together. I release. Okay. The next one is I renew. Together. I renew. Okay. Envision yourself sitting there and water passing from your head to your toe, just being spiritually renewed. We're going to repeat that together. I renew. That's right. Okay, and as you're there, one more affirmation. I trust. Together, I trust. I release. Repeat. I release. I renew. Repeat. I renew. I trust. Repeat. I trust. That's right. So I'm going to invite you to liberate yourself. Deep liberation and surrender. Surrender. When you come to this place that you're going, I just don't know. I release and I let go. Right? Beautiful. Beautiful, fun song to remember. To sing all the way down the street as people weave in and out of traffic. And the invitation before I close is to commit to a practice of daily surrender and renewal. It's not within this service, it's not even within the Easter season. Every single day, surrender and renewal, and watch the miracles that unfold for you. Amen. Thanks for having me.